Let's try to recreate this chart here, and it's actually two charts. We have a donut chart with yes and no here, and then we have a chart, a stacked 100% chart, which is a nice example for chi-square test. So first, let's start by just creating this donut here. So we don't need much information, just select the donut. You can select the pie as well. I just somehow tend to like the donut more. So let's insert this one first. It's already quite big right away. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And here we have no and yes. And we know that yes, it's 48%, therefore no is 52%. Let's remove all the other bits. And there we have our data. We don't need sales. We don't really need this legend here. We will have it in the other chart. Now let's try to adjust it a little bit. If you don't have the tab open, right click and select format the series, and let's start playing around. First things first, let's make it a little bit different. But these all adjustments, as I said in the other video, it's a good idea to do them when you already have the size of your chart nailed. So let's do that first. The size is good. Let's play with the exposition so we can split it. We don't really need this, but a good measure. And here is the angle, so let's roll it around. Where do we want to have our yes? Somewhere here. Let's hope it's a yes, but let's highlight it with the values first to see. All right, it turns out that this is a no, and we actually need a yes, and we need to rotate it. Let's highlight the number. Here's our yes. Let's rotate it back. This seems to be a good angle. We don't need the information for no. It's kind of intuitive. Here's our yes. Let's move it a little bit further here and make it a little wider. This seems to be good enough. Let's maybe move the donut itself a little bit lower. That seems to be very similar to what we have in our example chart. Now coloring. Let's color no as gray. That signals that we're not interested in it. Let's select only one of them here. Here's our no, and here's our yes. Wrong color. Let's go with this one. All right, so it seems like the colors are similar. So use double click if necessary, or click once to select the respective series, and then you color it. First chart is ready. Now let's create this chart here. Again, we go and insert a chart. Columns, this one seems to add up to 100%, and this is what we're going to go for. Oh, look at that. I actually changed this chart. That's not what I wanted. Let's go back, unselect this chart, and start over. And here we have it. Okay, again, we'll look where the categories are. The categories are rows here, and we want researcher versus regular people. Let's have a look what we have in our data. We actually already have here some percentages. They're calculated, but we need it in a different way, right? We need researcher here, like this, and regular people like this, and yes and no here, so that we have it all aligned. Let's create that. First, let's copy our data here and paste it only with numbers. We got that right, and now let's transpose it so that we have the right thing. So we copy it again, and when we select on this little label the option transpose, and our table is turned around. You can also do it in the chart. In fact, let's try to do it in the chart right away. So let's copy this one, and let's imagine this is how our data work, and try to work around it within the chart already. So here we paste our numbers. adjust the area that we care about, remove everything that we don't need, and here we have a chart. And it looks like it's not exactly how we want. We have a column for yes, a column for no, and researchers are in the legend. Let's flip it around. So usually there is this button that should work, should be active, and this is actually what will allow you to do the switch. For some reason right now this button is not active. I don't actually know why. Sometimes it's active and not, but it seems like we have to go back to Excel and select the transpose table afterwards. But remember, this button, switch row and columns, check it out. Sometimes it works, and then you can actually switch rows and columns. Here's our data again. Now we have it in the right way. We copied the table in a different way. Let's start preparing our data. Let's start this time from the top and go down. Is pie chart evil is the headline. Let's do everything with it right away. Let's make it bold. Is the size right? Seems to be okay. All right, this is done. Now let's move the legend here so that it can be related to both our donut and, let's move our donut here, our donut and our stack chart, like this. Okay, now we're missing some numbers. And it doesn't seem to be right. Now the no is on top and we want to be no on the bottom. Tough choice for our data. Let's reshuffle it a little bit. So here you might try to move it like this. Sometimes it allows you to shuffle like in the pivot table, not always. Let's try around. If not, we just do the copy and paste. Doesn't seem to work. Never mind. Let's copy it here. Copy no here and copy yes back into the table and remove the yes number 2 from it and remove all the unnecessary things. So what I flipped now, I did because I want to have yes on top and no on the bottom. It's just a little bit more intuitive, and we of course want to do everything that our audience sees the data in the most intuitive way. So here we have it. It's my preference, but it's also the feeling that I get from the audience. It makes sense that the yes, the more important bit, the one that we care about, let's say yes, the one that is colorful and highlighted, is on top. Now let's start working with the data, adding the numbers, changing the colors right away, adding numbers again to the no column, let's say in the middle, and changing the colors once again to gray. There we have it. Let's format the numbers. Let's make them bold and white, and the same for the second pair of numbers, bold and white. We're almost done. Let's just adjust the axis and make a step of 25 here in the major. Looks a little bit neater. And let's not forget to insert a sample information. Here in our made-up sample we have 400 people. Make sure that the sample is nice and visible and is of the right color. Let's select the eyedropper and color it again. We have sample, we have legend, we have nice axis that is clear, we have researchers and regular people. Let's make them a little bit bigger so that they're more visible. Let's enlarge this donut a little bit so that it looks more nicely proportionally right here. And it seems our chart is actually done. We have everything that we need. The two charts look very similar. Here we go, 2 in 1, a donut and a stacked column or bar chart.